Hey y'all, this is going to be a quick reaction to the video Sumo Primetime put out yesterday, August 23rd. It's about Nakamura's stable, the one we've been talking about that's changing up how they train compared to most sumo practices. Sumo Primetime does spotlight pieces, not hard news, but it's still direct coverage of the stable with comments from Nakamura, and that's worth talking about. Japan's got different copyright laws, so I'm going to fast forward through the parts where I don't have anything to say, and I'm going to pause and read when they translate comments so you can just listen if you want to. The full video is worth watching if you want to see more though. Alright, let's go. So, Feisty Master, they keep calling him Feisty. I don't know where this came from, but it's funny as hell.
Practice is about to start, but it's already 3 p.m.
So that is one of the main things that we knew Nakamura was going to change. Regular practice was going to be in the afternoon. I didn't know if it was going to split between morning and afternoon or all go in the afternoon and they were going to do something else in the morning. But yeah, this was one of the key changes that he was implementing.
Training begins with exercises that involve wrapping a tube around the ankles.
See, this is awesome. I'm just going to let it play. This is fantastic. You see people do this kind of ankle work a lot when they're trying to strengthen the hips, because the hips and the outside of the legs really get worked by this kind of band exercise. It does a lot of the same stuff that Shikos do. Like it works kind of the same muscles, just in a different way. And Shikos are critical, so that's a good implementation. That's a good idea for an exercise to implement.
Including lifting one leg for 5 seconds before bringing it down.
All right, if you saw Chris Sumo's video or our video on injuries where I talked about that video, God, I'm blanking on the guy's name. The one who was talking about how current Rikishi have no balance. This is an amazing idea for an exercise to use what they already do to help improve their balance on one foot. This is fantastic.
Then they perform Shiko with increased speed and stomp down forcefully.
This is great. Look, what they're doing here, there's different ways to do resistance exercise, which is what Shikos are, even if it's not heavy resistance. You can just do it as a normal movement. You can do it slowly for control, or you can do it for explosiveness. Before, with the balance, they were doing it for control, and now they're doing it in a more explosive fashion. This is great. Doing it all three ways is excellent.
The focus is on how low they can keep their lower body.
Okay, that's good. Although, all right, hang on. I'm going to back this up real quick. Watch the dude go underneath. All right, see, that's kind of nonsense. If you're gonna go under the bar, do it in a stance that you're actually gonna maintain during the sport that you're practicing for. Don't just bend underneath it. And if you're the coach in this case, even if you have to raise the bar up, put it at a level where he can keep his head up, because he's not gonna bend forward like that unless he's about to lose. All right, he needs to stop lifting the damn thing. Leave it in one spot. All right, I'm backing this up. If he wants to change the height as different guys get to it, that's fine. Like, try to find a good spot. Like, the bar gets put at neck height, for example. And so they got to get that far under it. It's not a lot, but at least that would be consistent. But you can't, like, lift the pole up over their head, or they're not really getting the practice that you want.
Training is divided into 2 sessions, morning and afternoon.
Hello, I'm Feisty Nakamura.
All right, the feisty thing is still amazing. Also, they say it gets split into morning and afternoon. Now, I saw this once already, so I know they talk about it a little bit differently later, but that makes it sound like the sumo practice itself actually gets split between morning and night. Like, they do some of it early and some of it late. As it turns out, it sounds a little different when they talk about it later, but we'll get to that. Congratulations on establishing the new stable in June. How's it been going after 2.5 months? I'm enjoying every minute of it. I truly enjoy being with the wrestlers and cherish the moments spent with them, so we're not getting a whole lot yet.
They emphasize training where wrestlers start the match in a chest-to-chest grappling position.
And this is probably a really good idea. You do need to be good at a tachi, but if you can get to that chest-to-chest grappling position and you've practiced that more than your opponents, then that's advantage to you. So that takes some of the pressure off having a strong tachi. Like if you can just find a neutral position from the tachi, then that's good for you if this is where most of your practice has come. But of course, if you kind of fall off with your tachi and it's not that good anymore, that's a problem. When I was active, there were some training practices I disliked. Not just me, but very few people enjoy painful or tough training. Therefore, I try to reduce such practices as much as possible. While focusing on safety, I aim to find ways to strengthen the wrestlers through creative approaches. Alright, so did we actually hear anything there? Kind of. He's trying to be creative, he's trying to do things differently, he wants to make them stronger. Nobody enjoys painful practices, right? Like, nobody's trying to get hurt during training. And I'm sure that what he's talking about for the most part are things that are, not that they're painful, but they're uselessly painful. That it hurts and it's like, why are we doing this? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he's not trying to take away things that might be difficult and might bang you up a little bit, but are genuinely useful for getting better at the sport. But he doesn't get into much detail there, so it's hard to say.
Nakamura Oyakata always prioritizes the maintenance of the wrestlers' bodies.
So let's not underestimate the usefulness of taking care of the wrestlers' bodies first and foremost. If, let's say, they don't train as much on the tachi, and so they all are slightly below par at that. Well, is that actually a problem when a lot of your opponents end up with injuries that make all that tachi practice harder to put to use? Like, they're a little bit better, but they're also more hurt and can't do it as effectively. Now, I realize when you get to the top of the ladder, then most guys are probably at least healthy enough to do everything effectively. But you have your Takakeshos who, he's got a crazy good tachi, except that his body can't do it anymore. So this goal seems like it's going to be good for the longevity of his wrestlers, and the ones that are good enough to be Sekitori will be able to earn that salary for longer. But it's only been one basho, and it's hard to say if that particular approach is going to produce champions. I'd be willing to bet it's going to produce an unusual number of long-term Sekitori, like depending on the size of the stable, there's going to be a higher percentage of them than normal that will be in the salaried ranks. But I don't know if that's going to make them like all-timers or anything like that. What is this? This is an oxygen chamber. Nakamura Oyakata installed it to help with our body care. It's effective in speeding up joint recovery and relieving fatigue. Everyone finds it extremely valuable. It's not just this. Please come over here. Okay, so if you've ever seen in high-level professional sports, some guy has exerted himself like crazy, and then he's getting the oxygen mask on the sidelines. Well, getting more oxygen in your system is a good thing. This is a pretty cool thing for him to install. This thing is not cheap. Hiro's not kidding when he says this is an expensive piece of equipment. So you can tell he's really prioritizing the well-being of his wrestlers, and never underestimate the ability of an athlete to push that much harder because they care about their coach and what their coach thinks of them. This is the kind of thing that on its own can improve performance because of a better mental state, because the coach is taking care of your physical body. All of this looks like a setup where Nakamura is probably going to have wrestlers who maximize their potential, even if their potential isn't like champion level, which is really good. That's what you want.
The room next door resembles a sports gym.
Okay, it absolutely does not resemble a sports gym. That's nonsense. This is a basic weight room. You've got, I'm going to back this up for a second. Wow, no, dude, this is not wow. Okay, you've got a squat rack. That's great. It's connected to a stack of plates, which are, so the squat rack is not connected to the stack of plates. Sorry. See, there's the pull down bar above it. So this is you can get multiple exercises done on this apparatus, which is good. You know, it saves space. I'm sure space is at a premium, so that's all great. But this is all real kind of basic stuff. It's not cheap, but it's basic.
Next door resembles a sports.
Then you've got a Smith machine with a bench on it. You can do different kind of bench presses on this. You can do different kind of squats on this by moving the bench. You know, this is a good thing to have. You can get different kind of work in on the squat machine. You don't just have to use free weights. So that's cool that they have this. And then they have the bench press over there and some dumbbells. They kind of look like adjustable dumbbells, which would be really useful in a sumo stable because you got guys with like really different levels of strength. Even when they're all strong, how strong they are can vary pretty substantially. But this is it. This is the whole thing. This is not a sports gym. This is nothing like a sports gym, Hiro. This is the basics. But they have it, and that's good. If they're focused on using this effectively, you don't need more than this. But let's not oversell what it is.
This is the bench press machine. Yeah.
I mean, what are we even watching here? The bench press cannot be that unusual in sumo or in Japan or anything like that, that this is how this dude is acting. Even with Hiro Morita being the way he is in these videos, like super positive, this is really the thing that you're Dude, I don't even know here.
Now this is for squat, where you can strengthen your lower body.
Yep, half-ass squats, more half-ass squats. You know what? I'm going to give him a pass, and just because he's probably not warmed up or anything. But we've seen him in other videos. He's pretty flexible. Like, whatever. That's, I fully understand that basic sumo training is essential. Well, yeah. However, some muscles cannot be developed through that alone. Yes, that, exactly. Nakamura Oyakata often emphasizes supplementing these areas with weight training. Excellent. The morning practices move to the afternoon, allowing us to conduct agility training in the morning. All right, I don't know what agility training means. Weight training, strength training, and agility training are not the same. When I think of agility training, I'm thinking of running the cones, doing ladder drills, things of that nature. Now, maybe agility training is what they call weight room work. That would be an odd translation, but okay. If we take this literally, though, I don't understand what's going on. So if there's anybody who knows Japanese better and can tell us in the comments whether or not they're actually talking about lifting, that would be super helpful. For the moment, I'm going to assume they lift in the morning and do sumo practice in the afternoon, which is exactly what you would want to do. So that's great. While this approach may be unconventional in the sumo world, the wrestlers already feel its benefits. So I believe it is the right approach. Like I said, if the coach gets the athletes to buy in and they feel good about what he's having them do, that positive mental state can itself increase performance. So that's really good.
It involves having 3 meals a day.
Which we've heard about, that they're going to eat 3 meals a day, that they're going to eat in the morning, which if you're going to lift in the morning is a very good idea. So that's really cool. I'm willing to bet that you're not going to suddenly see these guys shrink because they're not eating to maximize weight gain. To build a strong body, I believe a good nutritional program is essential. In this stable, the wrestlers start their day by consuming nutrients upon waking. That's a hell of a thing to call breakfast. After discussing convenient, high-protein, high-calorie options with the wrestlers, smoothies were selected as a good choice, so they drink them every morning. The wrestlers do agility training in the morning. Okay, one, I'm real curious how many calories these smoothies have if the smoothies are the only thing they have in the morning. I'm going to guess it is because he would probably say if they were eating more food and not just having the smoothie. So I just looked up what a smoothie or a shake that you would want for calories would be. And this website, Healthline, if you just look up high protein, high calorie smoothie, you'll find this. They have 12. I'm just going to leave this on the screen. Chocolate peanut butter shake with Greek yogurt. Like, this is heavy. But at the bottom, you can see calories 587. It's not that much. Do they get multiples? Do they get bigger ones? If they're going to have a high calorie start to the day, I would expect them, especially sumo wrestlers, to get way more calories than this. But this is the kind of shake or smoothie that is being advertised or suggested to regular ass people. They could find ways to put these together either bigger or with even more protein and calorie laden ingredients to get, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 calorie smoothies. That's absolutely possible. It's just hard to find an example of what that might be. 2, again, the wrestlers do agility training in the morning. The fact that he's saying it as well, it just makes me think more that this is how they refer to strength training. I just don't know why they call it agility training. And if it is agility training, 1, where do the weights come in? Do they come in after sumo practice? So they do agility training in the morning, then sumo practice, then lift? Because, that can work. Other stables do their morning practices and then lift in the afternoon or the evening, but that seems suboptimal. And again, I'm kind of curious if it's actual agility training. What do? They have lunch and take a nap. In the late afternoon, they put on their mawashi and train. This is the routine they have been following. It's got to be strength training in the morning. A high quality balance of nutrition, rest, and training is crucial. We've been diligent in maintaining and enhancing the quality of these 3 elements. However, I believe we must keep evolving. That's the sign of a great coach. Somebody who is convinced that doing it differently is correct, but is also going to try to keep improving on what he already thinks is better than the status quo. That's excellent. Rather than being satisfied with the current state, I want to continue incorporating new ideas. I know a lot of you are going to know what this is, but for the people who don't, it's not BDSM equipment. It's a neck strengthening tool. There's a plate, or it's usually a plate on the end of that chain, and you move the neck up and down in order to strengthen the neck. This is really, really good for improving your ability to take hits that would rattle your head and not actually take brain damage from it. If the neck is strong enough, it can actually keep the head more still upon contact and then limit or eliminate the movement of the brain inside the skull. This is something American football players do. This is something fighters, I don't know if all fighters do it, but they should because it's really useful. But yeah, that's what this is for. I must be grateful to the wrestlers and appreciate the disciples who chose to follow me and practice sumo under my guidance. Without them, I wouldn't be a master. With that mindset, I want to give back to them by ensuring they have positive experiences in sumo. Dude, that's awesome. Like, this is a lifestyle, right? It's not just a professional sport, it's a lifestyle. How many times has that been said? So he wants them to have a positive experience. They're not all going to be great. That's how sumo is. There are people in the sport who just aren't going to be that good at it, but they're part of the lifestyle and he wants it to be good for them being in the sport. That's amazing. That's fantastic. I want to help all of them become sekitori, but I know that's not entirely possible. I can't make empty promises. However, I want my wrestlers to be able to look back and say, joining Nakamura-beya allowed me to reach my full potential. It pushed me beyond what I thought I could achieve. That's the kind of sumo life I want them to have. It's been 8 years since I turned pro, but I believe that not a single thing Nakamura Oyakata said was wrong. When the guy at the top of the stable says that kind of stuff, that's excellent for everybody below him to hear. So this is Tomokaze, right? He's the stable leader. He's the highest ranked guy. He may not be for too much longer, but he's a veteran. His voice carries a lot of weight. So for him to say things like this is really good for all the other wrestlers in the stable to hear. The experiences he accumulated are now reflected in the current stable. Regardless of whether they're wrestlers, sekitori, or young recruits, we're committed to uniting and working with our stable master. We will continue to advance by learning from everything and never standing still. Whether someone is a novice or an expert, an experienced sumo wrestler or a newcomer, male or female, young or old, we will maintain the spirit of learning from all sources, even from animals. I realize that the way he said that might have just been to be very inclusive in his ideas, but if he goes out and like does, I don't know, community work or helps train girls teams, that would be friggin' amazing.
Feisty.
Feisty.
Sumo Prime Time. I was deeply impressed by Nakamura Oyakata, who respects the traditions of sumo.
Yeah, Hiro kind of has to say that he respects the traditions of sumo. I'm not saying it's not true, but there's such an emphasis placed on tradition and respect for tradition that this kind of spotlight piece, he has to say that he respects tradition. I mean, there's no way around it. I'm sure Nakamura does respect tradition, but he is not beholden to it, and that's really the critical thing here. And that's why I like what he's doing. All right, so that's it. It's a pretty good look at the place. I mean, it's about as good a look at the place as you're going to get from Sumo Primetime from a spotlight piece like this. It's obviously positive coverage, but I liked the things that they had to say. The one question I have remains, what is agility training? Again, I'm assuming it's strength training, but if you understand what they were saying in Japanese well enough, and that's not the right assumption to make, please let us know in the comments. That's going to be important information to have. All right, so that is one reaction to Sumo Primetime covering Nakamura-beya. Hope you liked it. Banzuke comes out tomorrow. So does the breakdown. I'll see you then.